is I just want you to kind of reflect and think. And then go back, if you've got the opportunity, to the questions, the essay questions that have been said. But last year's exam paper, and say, could I answer this now? And the answer should be still no. But then you make that topic of your question, and you say, yes, I need to address that. And use the workshop, ask the workshop tutors if you've got some ideas about how to write an essay. We're trying to help you. But the most frustrating thing every year, every single year, is that you end up blaming us. That might be kind of great that you can write anonymously and you can write all kinds of crap. But in the end, remember, I don't have to do tutorial anymore. I really just don't have to put up with that. I don't want the dishonesticate. What I want you to do is to just reflect on the stuff. Don't leave it to the last minute, because critical thought does not arrive out of the sky. You turn the ideas over in your head, you discuss it with friends, and say, well, this is a kind of fault line product, and would you apply it to this example? Because in every question you're going to be asked to provide an example. It may be an extended example, it may not be. But you need examples. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cover strategy and organisational learning, which is kind of resource-based theory. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about core competencies. And in terms of core competencies, I take as given that you know the basics. What I'm not going to take as given is that you have probably spotted some of the things that I'm going to address today. If you have, great. If you haven't, have a think about it. I'm interested in product and how, because that's the key statement. That's the key statement that is made about resource-based theory. There's lots of reprints of the actual article. There's a book published by Product and How. You don't need to go much beyond the Harvard Business Review article, in my opinion. But if you want to read the book, go. It's a good read, easy read. Go ahead and read it. Resource-based theory, you've got to remember, comes in many varieties. Don't simply assume that resource-based theory is just product and how. It's not, because the economists have realised, well, do we have any relevance? So they've now captured resource-based theory as well. So there's kind of different kind of approaches. But I'm going to look at product and how, because that's the key statement. I've been looking at kind of the fault lines of the discourse. When I say fault lines, that's my understanding. And in terms of kind of aims, look, my aims have been, last week, it was about kind of quarter, I'm going to discuss kind of the competencies, just the kind of the background. If product and how are the key popularizers, there are lots of other varieties out there. And remember, when you're writing, if you're writing about different authors, it's always a good sign if you can actually kind of differentiate and delineate the kind of positions of 2 or 3 different writers in the same field. Resource-based theory is economics as much as organisational behaviour. I said Porter was mainly economics, it is, but resource-based theory has now been adopted by the economists as well. I'm interested in comparing Porter versus product and Hamel. That's economists versus organisational behaviourists. Why? Because I'm going to point out there's more similarities than you would imagine, even though product and Hamel try to differentiate themselves. Porter's an economist, writes beautifully. I'm a fan of Porter, but you don't have to flood me when you're writing an essay. The sociologists and organisations, there's lots of kind of thinkers who are writing in this field. You're spoiled for choice. Choose your authors carefully and write a decisive essay. I also recommend, even though it's not part of the course, that you write some practice essays on Section 8. the opportunity to pop into my office and discuss. I won't read your essays, but I will discuss them. So let's go to kind of a little background on this. The difference between kind of Porter of the 1980s and Carlo Hamel in the 1990s, it's about economics versus organizational theory. Have you not noticed how different discourses and disciplines in the school have competing claims in the way that they interpret different objects, or similar objects? Porter and Carlo Hamel are no different. Like most economists, Porter never had much interest in what was happening inside the firm. Like Whitty, his background is economics. Economics sees the workings of a firm as largely like a black box. Again, I generalise because there are economists who are interested, but generally, inside workings of a firm are a black box. But sociologists and organisational theorists are interested in how the organisation works. Because their argument is that if you get the organisational structure right, you get the workings of the company right, and at the end, success drops out. Now, this kind of opens up kind of a double perspective. If you look at from Carlyle and Hamel, the thesis is about competencies. The classic statement is Carlyle and Hamel. Everyone, you've got to read Carlyle and Hamel. I'm not just going to say I keep saying it, but you should read it. The Harvard Business Review, it's available, I think, online now, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own room. Where did Carlyle and Hamel get their ideas from? Well, Carlyle and Hamel get their ideas from two different places. The first place is its reaction against Porter. Remember, Porter in the 80s largely dominated the strategy discourse. If you wanted a job in a strategy field, in a business or management department, you had to have read, understood, and applied Porter. Porter was the dominant discourse. But the 80s was also kind of exemplified by relative unsuccess. Most companies were still downsizing by the time Porter had finished. So it's a reaction against Porter, and it's about explicitly jettisoning. This is what Carlyle and Hamel does. You read it closely. It's about jettisoning Porter. Porter's ideas about positioning the firm in this industry. Have a close read. That's what they're arguing. Sleep at the wheel, and I'll pick that quote up. And it's also dumping the Porter-esque assumptions about strategy. That's what they're doing. When you have a kind of a new idea in town, it's really good. Either you ignore what's already there, or you find very subtle ways to undermine the existing discourse of this way. So this gives me kind of two, in terms of my kind of breakdown of my lecture. What I'm going to do is I'm going to observe, and my start point is going to be actually Alfred Chandler. Even though it's not part of the full lecture, you cannot understand the formulation of strategy from Chandler to Porter to Carlyle and Hamel unless you go back to Chandler. Because Chandler is largely phase one of organisational theory. Organisational theory has something to say about strategy, as does marketing, as do economists. So when you go to the shelves, you look for strategy books, you find different approaches. Sometimes you look at the background of the author and you'll find that they either have a marketing background or they have sociology or organisational behaviour background or more kind of operations management background. But whichever author you look at, you will find a lineage to their discourse or discipline. The second phase is I want to analyse Carlyle and Hamel, because that's phase two. Chandler sets up phase one, where he argues structure follows strategy. And the third section is going to be on the basis of looking at the differences between Carlyle and Hamel and Porter of the 1980s. Remember, I'm not looking at Michael Porter's ideas from 1990. I finished in 1985. And after this, what I'm going to argue is that both these kind of discourses and disciplines, while really interesting, only can take us so far in understanding the sources of success and failure. So let me begin by looking at Chandler. Chandler, the classic source, is structure and strategy. Really boring read. If you've got time, lots of time, have a read. But I would argue that the GM chapter in that book is probably amongst the best from a business history perspective you're ever likely to read. It is a really dense, works you hard kind of book. Now the problem for Chandler is that how does the giant firm cope with diversification? Last week I made the point, can you think of just a single firm that produces just one product? A giant firm, not a small firm. Giant firms produce different products in different subsidiaries. They could be competing geographically, they could be on product type. The giant firms are competing in different ways. And it's rare to find a single product firm. And if you look at the Porter and Crowell and Hamill, they assume that it's a single firm producing a single product. Now Chandler's a business historian. An old-fashioned kind goes densely into the subject. So he's got kind of cases on Sears, Roebuck, alongside kind of GM. His solution is that diversified firms can produce superior performance by adopting the right organizational form. That form is M form. You would recognize that from any organizational chart currently, you will find an M operating downwards subsidiaries. Chandler's hypothesis is structure follows strategy. Structure follows strategy. That is, diversification was followed in the 1920s by the adoption of new organizational form, and that's based on either a single product or geographic area. They could manage different companies by having a headquarters and subsidiaries. What diversified firms needed to do is to have a multi-divisional organization form, M form. I mean, it's largely fallen out of discussion. I can't understand why, because most firms are still organised in an M-form way. Each division has concentrates on one product or geographic area. If you look at the GM, they still have a European arm, still have an American arm, they have a truck division, they have a finance division. Each division has a suitable set of functional departments. They have all the standard things like production and sales. What they don't have is the allocation of resources or strategy. That's left to headquarters, which formulates strategy. Now, these kind of simple kind of ways of understanding often have empirical examples. So you can actually say, you can look at firms and say, yeah, that firm has that structure, that firm has that structure. And Chandler is no different because he's writing in the 50s and the 60s, and he looks back to the 1920s. Now, General Motors, car maker, it has a variety of, well, it did until it was broken up. High-tech, satellites division, Hughes Corporation had a European car division, it had Vauxhall, Opel, it has a North American auto division. And you'll find a range of kind of companies that will have these kind of structures. Now, the exemplars of that form are important.